game developers. Some try to play it safe, while others take a different path. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today we look at games in and outside the box.
Second Opinion Games.
Block Drop U for the Wii U and other tablet devices. This is a downloadable game for only about $1, and it's designed as a quick cash-in game that will just take your money and run. There's a total of 30 levels here, and your main goal is to get a little red block to rest evenly on a safe spot, and you have to do so by getting rid of other blocks. Now, it starts off that gravity is your worst enemy, and sometimes you will just fall in pits, but quickly you'll learn to overcome that by blindly removing blocks as fast as possible and hoping that you rest your block in that safe spot. Then they throw a couple more obstacles at you, like buzzsaws that will quickly move back and forth, and you have to rest the block. Again, the tried and true method of deleting blocks as fast as possible, and hopefully you'll get lucky, will secure you the win. And then finally, there'll be a bouncy block that jumps around all over the place. And guess what you have to do? Well, delete blocks really fast, and hopefully you could win. And then it's over. No congratulations screen for even clearing this game, and it's just done. And that's $1 well wasted. Marble Madness. In the arcade, they use a trackball, which kind of looks like a cue ball just shoved into the middle of the arcade machine, that you would control a ball around 6 different mazes. Now, the first one is super duper easy, and then things go crazy from there. There are some primitive 3D mazes here, and time is your life, as you could just break apart a dozen or so times. However, every second that ticks by means that you're not going to see another level to this game. This is one that's very much trial and error, and just continuously has you pushing quarters into the machine to keep on playing. On the Nintendo Entertainment System, this was one of the first games that one of my neighbors that happened to have a Nintendo showed me, and the very first thing that I thought was, holy crap, how come there's dog poop everywhere in this house? They just let their dogs crap everywhere. And the second thing I thought was, I just have to have this for my Nintendo. Yes, it is ridiculously short, but the fact that there are so many different branching paths and ways to play the game will keep you pushing forward. Marble Madness is certainly one of the most interesting games for pickup and players the world around. Back to the box, we have Intelligence Cube for the PlayStation 1, and when I first saw it, I couldn't believe the PlayStation 1 had anything so unbelievably simple on it. You're just a little guy that runs on a platform. You have to set traps down, and then activate the traps to destroy the certain colored blocks that you need to destroy. Now, there are forbidden blocks that you don't want to destroy, and if you do, you'll lose space off the back end of your runway. Also, if too many blocks fall off the edge, you'll also lose the space off the back end of the runway. So you want to destroy as many blocks as possible. There's also special blocks that you can destroy to then set bigger traps on certain parts of the map. Now, how you do this and calculate it determines how smart you are. So even if your thumbs are really dumb and you just continuously get run over, well, then you must be pretty darn stupid for not being able to control your thumbs just right. And it says here that my intelligence is just high enough to sign my stinking name, something that I've known pretty much all my life. And did I mention how freaking rocking the music was here? Also, it has a full-on tutorial section where it's narrated by a guy that sounds like he came out of a CDI video game that explains to you in depth how to play the game before it starts, telling you that you're stupid for not already knowing how to do it.
The X button again, the player can deactivate the mark. The game is played by marking a spot and then successfully deactivating the spot. Now let's try to capture a cube.
Sega knows how to stretch its legs outside the box with Super Monkey Ball, putting cute little tiny monkeys in balls where you control the platforms that the monkeys roll around on and not in direct control of your monkey. Yeah, sounds crazy and it works beautifully. As you play through the game, you could unlock different mini games, but I love the main game, even if I happen to be pretty darn bad at it. Your thumbs have to be super precise, and luckily the GameCube controller is absolutely perfect for this game. You only need the analog stick to play, you don't need any buttons on the controller. Occasionally to switch things up, I just use the palm of my hand in sort of a very weird way, and yeah, it makes the game still very much fun and adds a little bit more challenge to some of the beginner levels. And you will be challenged here. Also, there's plenty of times where it's risk versus reward here. Do you try to take the warp that's harder to get to, but you might lose a few lives trying it, or just push forward and then run through the easier levels? And there are different ways to get to the very end of the level too. Do you take a quick shortcut in order to shave a couple seconds off time, giving you more bonus points, or do you just play it safe? Any way you play is entirely up to you, but one thing's for sure, monkeys and balls sure are cute. For the Xbox 360 and PS3, we have Catherine. Boiled down to its basics, it's just a simple block sliding game where you have to work your way to the top and manipulate your environment in order to do so. It's so simple that they actually put a little arcade game inside of the local bar that you could play, which is essentially the exact same thing. Now, where the game gets truly creative is its storyline here, with a man trying to cope whether or not he should get married or continuously whore himself around town. Either Catherine you choose happens to be a succubus that will drain the life force out of you, even though one's maybe a little bit more literal than the other one. The other one's just a woman that wants to get married to you. So, yeah, pretty much the same exact thing. This is not an easy game, especially the boss battles, where you seem to be stalked by creepy creature women trying to impale you with a fork, or maybe just lick the crap out of you. This is just gross and somewhat sexual all at the same time. If you happen to clear a level, then you're gonna be given some morality questions that you're gonna have to look deep inside yourself to answer, and then it compares to other people's first time playthroughs on the online community. So it ends up being pretty darn neat. And there's also the most blatant exploitation of sheep that I have ever seen.
I see yours. I don't know.
The map on the left side of the
Marble Mania for the Wii. In a day and age where violence and sex seems to sell and command every single movement you make, controlling a marble using the Wiimote and trying to hold it as still as possible to work your way through a maze and get to the exit seems like one of the dumbest ideas ever. However, it controls unbelievably well because the gyros here have been calibrated perfectly to the Wii remote. But it's not gonna be that easy. You have to pick up crystals along the way. If you miss just one crystal, well, you might as well just kill yourself and start all over from the beginning of the maze. Now, traversing the maze seems to be the hardest part here. Sometimes you have to manipulate the environment, the camera never gets in the way, and this game is also ridiculously cheap as it's one of those shovelware Wii games that no one seems to care about. There are tons of different environments here too, and the graphics look beautiful and hold up unbelievably well. The music is quite tranquil, and this is just one of those Zen games that I like to play every once in a while to just relax, especially after playing some of the more frustrating games that I previously talked about. Back to the box, we have Edge. This was a PSP, a Wii U, and a 3DS title. You control a box around a different maze, trying to work your way to the exit. There are collectibles to pick up along the way, and it seems like it's a simple platform game without the ability to jump. You also need to have room to roll your box around, meaning if you fall into a hole just right, you might not be able to get out. Also, because the game seems to take place in an open space environment, you can fall off the edges, which is what you're going to be doing again and again. However, you don't go back too far, usually just back just far enough to make you want to keep playing the game. Earlier levels are ridiculously easy, and usually I don't show levels later on in many games because I don't want to ruin the game for you, but in this case I will, because it gets really fun. You know how different ninjas use this little wall climb thing? Imagine doing that with a freaking box. You have to teeter yourself on the edge just right on certain spots for tricky moves, and yeah, it gets pretty darn intense, which means this game always feels fun and fresh. This small development team only had a few people here to make a good game, and staying inside the box seemed like their best possible choice. And then we turn to Spearroidz. This was a $1 Wii U title, but it could also be found on the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. Now, if you ever played Buster Brothers or Pang before, where you're just a guy running back and forth, shooting a harpoon gun at balls and making them pop and explode, well then you know exactly what this game is all about. However, it also has a full-on adventure mode, so you have to move to different stages to pop little enemies with your harpoon gun, but it's really not going to be that easy after all, because you also have a grappling hook and you have to traverse over different obstacles with it. And the worlds here are huge and expansive. You'll even be jumping in and out of the background and foreground, and moving up and unlocking buttons and switches to move through the different levels. Most of them are really short, but as the game moves on, well, they get really tough and a bit too slippery. And there's even some giant balls that you just can't destroy that just want you dead at all costs. Spearroidz is an insanely cheap game made by a small development team that knew how to think outside the box to come up with a deep and a creative experience. If there's one takeaway we can pull from all this, is that you both have to think inside and outside the box to come up with some games that everyone can enjoy. And I like pretty much all of the games on this list. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it, and I'm still taking tons of ideas, so if you want a video made, well, just let me know. It seems that a lot of people like games with ninjas in it, or maybe robots, or even ghosts or wizards, so maybe I'll be doing something with those down the road. So please let me know what games you want me to review in the future, and chances are I'll probably cover it, because I plan on doing this for quite some time. So until later, I will see you again, guys.